Good morning. How is everyone today? You know, I don't get this nervous talking to judges in court, so it's kind of weird. So I guess that means I think this is pretty important. Welcome to the New Jersey Foundation for Open Government's 2012 workshop and seminar. First, and most importantly, I'd like to acknowledge the folks who have given us the grant to enable us to do this. The grant we received is through the Knight Foundation, and that's through the National Freedom of Information Coalition, and NJFOG. You might hear the words NJFOG throughout the day. NJFOG has basically given us all of our grant funding since we began, so we owe them a very big debt of gratitude. I also want to acknowledge my fellow members of the board who did a tremendous amount of work to put this seminar together. And I am going to mention them sort of in order of importance, but don't tell anyone that I said that. Chris Rogers put most of this together. He did most of the legwork. He did a tremendous amount of work, so I want to thank him for that. Fran Brooks, another member of the board, also deserves special attention because she's the one who handles all of our grant funding. So without her, we wouldn't have the grant monies for this project. I also want to thank Michelle Arminio. She's the treasurer. And the treasurer is always the one position that I don't want to take because I think the treasurer is the person who has like real responsibility. Like they're the one who are responsible for the money. So they get all the blame if anything goes wrong, but none of the credit. Cindy McBride is also here today. She did a tremendous amount of work helping us with registrations. John Paff is here as well, and he's going to be speaking on at least 2 panels. And also feel free to corner him if you want to ask him some questions. And also Joe Wren is here. I'd like to thank him for supporting us as well. So why are we here? We're here because public officials in New Jersey have to safeguard the public trust. They safeguard the public fisc, and they're also responsible for following the many laws in the state of New Jersey, including the Open Public Records Act and the Open Public Meetings Act. But the fact is that there's really no agency that regularly enforces the Open Public Records Act and the Open Public Meetings Act. There is some ad hoc enforcement, but there's no agency that goes to every town, every board, or every county and examines whether or not they're following open government practices. There's audits and there's budgets. But the fact of the matter is that the only people who we can rely on consistently and daily to monitor the activities of boards, of counties, and of towns is people like you. People like you who go to the meetings, who make Oprah requests, who follow what happens in their towns, and as well as the clerks. The clerks are important too. I know we have a couple of clerks here, a couple of current and former public officials, because it's really a self-enforcement system. And if no one raises problems with Open Public Records Act issues or Open Public Meetings Act issues, then they get swept under the rug. My favorite example, and I'll name it specifically because I've blogged about it, is Rockaway Township. Rockaway Township didn't approve its executive session meeting minutes for 11 years. 11 years. Just a couple months ago, and this was a lawsuit that I was involved in, a couple months ago, on the agenda was executive session meeting minutes from 2002, 2003, 2004. Because no one was checking. I'm sure someone in Rockaway knew that there was an issue, but you know what? If no one was enforcing it, if no one was watching it, then it just got pushed down on the priority list, and other priorities took over. And that's not fair, that's not right. So why are we here today? Since I've now tasked you with enforcing Oprah and open government, it's important that you know the rules, you know the cases, that you know the tools that you can use to enforce open government in your community. And that works both ways. We need members of the public who are fully informed, and we need the clerks and public officials who are also fully informed. Because as the Supreme Court has said, public officials and records requesters and the public, they should be working together. They're not at loggerheads. Their interests are really, usually, in my opinion, their interests are usually the same. So that's why we're here today. Although we have several speakers, I'm going to do my best to save time for questions during each individual session. So that's when folks, I'll try to recognize folks, and that's when folks should ask, I'd like to say succinct questions because we do have a tight schedule throughout the day, but I'm going to do my best to incorporate your comments. Mind the subject matter because I'd like the questions to be relevant to what we're discussing in the particular panel. So if you have a question, say, about videotaping in a meeting, well, that panel is in the afternoon, so save that question for the afternoon. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for attending. We have a wonderful turnout. We filled the room, and that makes me very happy. And with that, I'll move to our first panel. Thank you.